Hello and welcome to the Exponential Potential Podcast, helping you thrive in times of change, with your hosts Claire Oatway and Jennifer Evans, aka ZenJen, along with expert guests sharing with you uplifting, inspiring and insightful stories, groundbreaking, rule-shaking ideas, fresh new exciting perspective and truly transformational tools and top tips, as well as generous gifts for you, our listeners, on an array of topics, all designed to help you thrive in all areas of life. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to Exponential Potential. Oh, crikey, the year is flying by, and over this last month we've been looking at all things love, haven't we, Jen?
Yes, we love love. Love, 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 love.
And what's been fascinating is some of the discussion around love and how awkward you can feel about talking about love in a workplace environment. But love is just love. It's connection, it's relationships,
It's understanding, compassion. It's coming from that place. When you come from that place of love, there's no room for fear. And it all sounds very 60s, doesn't it? Like the love, but it's, that all got shut down because people from power, people from fear, they don't want the masses to they want the masses to be in fear.
Well, people are easier to control when they're afraid.
Yes, exactly. And without going into conspiracy and things, that's just actually a fact. I think we mentioned it before, didn't we, Claire, about religion was always the way to instill fear in people. So if you look back through the ages, the common people, the regular people have been always ruled by fear. And now it's moving into, viruses and money and things like that, which is one of the things we're talking about this month in March. Money March Madness, which does link into love and relationships.
Oh, it does. And do you know what? I'm so excited for today's topic because we are looking at how you can create abundance and love in your relationships and your life. And this combination of love and abundance, especially financial abundance, it's rarely put together in the same discussion. And perhaps, I don't know that we'll get around to this here, but perhaps it's because they're seen as opposite energies in a way. I know that for a lot of spiritual teachers and students, kind of the idea of financial abundance doesn't sit well with being
yes
universe.
Yeah, and in fact, and that's really interesting because that comes from what we've been taught about money. It's part of one of our money blocks, our money blueprints, where you grow up in an environment. I know for me, and we're going to be talking this. Being in March, we're going to be talking about money and abundance throughout with some really good guests as well. But I know for me, I grew up with, well, money doesn't grow on trees. And my dad would always have this opinion or express his feelings that if someone doesn't come from money, then they must have done something corrupt to get money. And you're right, money is seen as greed and can be and that's changing, that's shifting massively. But you're right, as people in the spiritual world, as healers and people that really want to help people, have an attachment thinking that money is bad or greed or evil. The root of evil is money, or I can't even remember that expression. But what's interesting is if that was money is just a tool. And our guest, one of our guests, Angela, will be talking about how we use money as a tool. So we're not going to steal her thunder in this. But if you really look at the world that we live in, And if we look more at nature, actually, which is our natural, nature was here. There is a huge amount of abundance available to every single one of us. It's our natural birthright. All we need to do is nurture, take care of of nature, if, for example, we grow our own fruits and vegetables, or mostly vegetables, in our garden here. And that's about nature, nurture, love, and feeling connected. And because we're in there, we get these amazing vegetables for free. The air that we breathe is free. The sun that shines down on us is free. So all the things that we need in life, in a basic life, are free. So our food, our water, our light, our shelter. We can build shelter from trees. I know, we're going back to basics, but the world is an abundant place, and I think we forget that.
So, for everybody who's tuned in, we've completely ignored an introduction. I wish that we were a brilliant production house like Amazon, and then we could pretend that, we're being really cool with a proper taster, then hitting you with the credits and then going in. Yes, we did that. Not perfect. You are listening to Exponential Potential with me, Claire Oatway. I'm a business and leadership coach here in the UK, and my amazing co-host and good friend, Jen.
Thank you, Jen. Yes, and what do? I help I help women who are ready to live a life of fulfillment, freedom and flow, love and abundance. So, and most women that come to me are stuck, they're in overwhelm. I would say 97% of my clients have anxiety, or had anxiety, and I'm just really passionate about helping women see what the possibilities are for them, and then give them a clear path forward that's full of clarity, confidence and courage, and guide and support, and show them how they can reach their desired outcomes and dreams and aspirations. And we're both so passionate about helping others. That's why we created this podcast.
Oh, absolutely. And today we are looking at the topic of abundance as the launch to a month that's looking at the topic of abundance. And as you can see, we're already abundant with ideas and giving. So you are in for an absolute treat. So Jen, let's dive on into some of the topics. And we've consciously connected abundance with relationships. So how are the two related?
Well, if you're struggling in your relationships, and we said, just before, I said about when we're nurturing and caring, and we are paying attention to our vegetables that we're growing, we're nurturing them, we're growing them. We also need to nurture and grow and feel that connection with our loved ones. And if we're not in that place of love, then we're usually in a place of fear, or we're too tired, or we've got no patience, there's no compassion there's no love, we're just frustrated and possibly angry. So from that place, it's very difficult to see and connect with abundance. And also this isn't necessarily about the laws of attraction, but if to be in a frequency of abundance, to match, so abundance is up here, that sort of the hierarchy of despair, depression, anger, and then the hierarchy just continues to go up until you're in that place of love and gratitude. But if you're not in that place of love and gratitude up here, you're not necessarily in the frequency to be able to see the abundance that's around you, that you're not able to attract like attracts like the abundance, because you're too busy being in the stress and the struggle. And if you're in stress and struggle, then your relationships are going to suffer. And even if you have got money, there'll be possible fears around losing that money or lack of deserving that money. So relationships, self-love, self-worth all relate to abundance, in that way. Does that make sense?
It does, and again, kind of when you have money, or if you come into money, sometimes it's easy for that to go, so you might struggle to hold on to it. And yeah, there are countless stories of people that have experienced a windfall and then within 2 years' time are bankrupt.
Lottery winners,
Yeah.
celebrities that, the one hit wonders, that they spend all their money and it's gone. And I've been in that position as well several times, where I've had money and I've lost it just through a silly business partnership, and just ways that you just don't imagine that you lose it and it's gone.
And this is very real for so many people right now, in terms of cost of living. And again, we talk about control. Well, the media and the government telling you all the time that you don't have money, you're stressed, you're scared, you lack. So kind of these messages are coming through all of the time. And I'm not saying they're not real, because every single household is affected in one way or another. But the more that we feel disempowered, or the more that we invite that energy in, the more disempowered and contained we are. So kind of, I think right now it's really important to give some of that power back. And definitely in terms of relationships, there will be couples and families in pain and distress right now. So kind of how can we lift that? How can we help people to start in the areas that they can control, which are around their behaviors and their relationships and their thoughts?
That's a really good question. And then you talk about empowerment, and it is so easy to give our power away to somebody else, whether that's a government, whether that's a partner. And that's something that I know you teach as well with your clients within leadership, is empowering other people within the team or within within your life. And I do that as well, to help empower women so that they can take responsibility for their own actions and what, as you say, what they can control. And when you think about the thing, there's so many things that we can control. And that is how we react to a situation. And that's our choosing. So you can choose to get really down in the dumps and listen to what everybody's saying and take it on and believe it, or you can go within. And I'm sure a lot of people kind of feel that there has to be more, there's more possibility for them. And I was just thinking about this yesterday. The amount of possibilities are truly unlimited. I mean, you look at the personal development industry and the coaching industry, and you look at digital marketing. There's so many possibilities that have come up from. So I'm a coach, you're a coach, and then all the businesses behind that support us.
Yeah.
It's kind of a whole world of new businesses. Then there constantly is that opportunity and that possibility to create a new business from nothing.
Yeah.
This is I can't remember. This is the biggest growth rate, the biggest growth industry in the world at the moment, and has been for the last couple of years. And it's in its billions. I can't remember the figures, but that's come from nothing. You know, having a, and just to take this back to something, so you have, you know, having a blank piece of paper, there's nothing on that, but you could create whatever you wanted it on that piece of paper, whether that's writing, whether that's doodling, whether that's creating geometric shapes, whether that's, you know, there's so many different formats and modalities, whether that's sticking things on it, photographs or pieces of fabric or pieces of nature or painting or drawing. You know, just from that piece of blank paper, the possibilities are endless. And I think when you start to realize that there are options available to you, and to get in that zone of, to get in that vibration for those ideas and solutions to come, is to be really mindful about your behavior. How are you interacting with others? Are you patient? Are you loving? Are you kind? Really, it's really, really simple stuff, but it's not always easy to do. And to get into that space, it's really important to give yourself space. And we, you know, we talk a lot about that in the self-love episode that we did. And throughout February, we, you know, when we're talking about self-love, to be in that space first, to give to yourself, to feed and nourish your soul, whether that's through creativity, whether that's through going for a walk in nature, whether that's just having time to do something you enjoy. So I think that's the first step, is to start doing little things that you enjoy doing that don't cost anything. And then start to look for the evidence that you are abundant. Look for the things that work for you. Look for the fact that we have free air. Look, you know, appreciate and feel gratitude that you have clothes to wear, that you have a bed to sleep in, that you have a roof over your head. So you're looking, and look for evidence of ways that the universe, or, you know, is showing up for you, is actually providing for you. And go ahead.
So, you know, why does saying yes to yourself matter? You know, in creating, why is it so powerful when you're creating happier relationships?
Yes. So another good question. Did I answer the first question?
You started to look at different ways of creating space, of developing a sense of self-love, you know, kind of showing up how you want to be treated. You know, some of the key elements there around successful relationships, and then, you know, you were starting to talk about this need to do the small things in order to move forward.
Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about shifting. We get so involved in conversations we forget where we are, don't we? Yeah. So just to recap very briefly, to shift that energy, to take control back, is to start looking at what you have control over, and ignore, you know, keep an eye, but sort of ignore what the press and the media are saying. Avoid the news, avoid negative social media, and start surrounding yourselves with things that feel good in your heart. And that is, you know, creating space, doing things you enjoy. So linking into the why is saying yes to yourself so important. When you start saying yes to yourself, and what we mean by that is actually, yes, I am important. Yes, I matter. Yes, my needs, my well-being is more important, is important. When we start realizing that, we then can start taking steps to say yes to ourselves. So that means yes to myself and giving myself permission to take time out. Yes to myself because I want to do something that's fun and interesting and something I love. Yes to myself because I need some help and assistance. So when you're asking other people for help, you're saying yes to yourself. And when you say yes to yourself, Yes, I want to improve my life and feel fulfilled. Yes, I want to be a better leader. When you say those things, you're then opening yourself up to receiving. And that energy starts to affect what comes to you. And you're saying, I am worth it. So it's very linked with your self-worth and self-love. And again, when you're in self-worth and self-love, then abundance will come, ideas and solutions will come, by saying yes and committing to something, to committing time for yourself each day or each week. And then you're in a better place to be able to give love from your heart, not from obligation. You're in a place to be more compassionate and understanding. And by saying yes, you're also open to receiving love and help from others. So it's universal, but it's also micro as well. You're saying, yes, I'm worthy of love, therefore I'm going to receive more love. Yes, I'm worthy of abundance, therefore I'm going to receive more of abundance.
That's a big leap for many people, I think, and to trust that it's there. And I think that I think often, particularly around the law of attraction, kind of sometimes you can get caught in this sense of, oh, I want that, but actually your heart is still full of lack. Your feelings are still in the lack, so you're kind of writing a shopping list to the universe in a way. Or it's still sometimes with love and relationships and patience and attention, there's still an overly transactional element between that person. So I'm going to do this for you and expect that this will come back. And that's subtly different than, I'm going to do this for you because it shifts, at the same time as doing that, I feel good. I'm demonstrating that I have the grace and the worth to do this, and trust that it will come back, not necessarily from you directly. It's not a one-on-one relationship, it's more of a relationship with the universe, with karma perhaps of
and also when you are giving, most people I know love giving. It makes them feel good, whether they get something back or not. Contribution is one of the biggest things that you can do for fulfillment, to help you feel fulfilled and purposeful, is to contribute. And you're not necessarily contributing deliberately to have something back again, but it is just the way this world works. It's the way the universe works, which is interesting because we are supposed to contribute to each other. We're supposed to give to each other, but we give from our hearts, not from a place of obligation.
Yeah. And that's a subtle difference between power and love, I think. Is kind of power is it. We've talked about power, and
manipulation.
I don't think it's a dirty word. I think it's an essential skill to get your head around, because sometimes if you don't get your head around power, you can be influenced negatively under somebody else's power. But we're talking here about a relationship that starts from a positive relationship with yourself and a positive connection with others and the world in which we live.
Yes, absolutely. And we talked about not watching the news. You can watch the news, but watch good news. There are channels that are good news channels. And there is a lot, and it's a common. I know I mentioned my dad a few times, but it's a common conversation I have with my dad, that because he watches the news 3 or 4 times a day, and he doesn't see any good news. And I said, yes, Dad, there's so much good news out there. There are so many people, so many philanthropists that are doing good things, that are shifting that balance. And he won't see it because he doesn't use social media and things like that. He just watches what's in front of him, which is the news on whatever channel he's watching on TV. But there is so many people doing so many good things. There's so many groups, big groups, and people with money. And that's the other thing, going back to money, about thinking about that it's corrupt or evil. If you have money, think of all the good that you can do with that. And the more abundance that you create, financial abundance, the more you're opening up the possibility for other people to see, actually, you've done it and you're a good person. So you're changing the energy, you're shifting the paradigm around money.
Yeah. So we'd connected back to that sense of self-love and self-worth, and how important it is to say yes to yourself. Can we explore some other ways that you can say yes to yourself, as it were?
Yes, healthy boundaries is a yes to yourself. And we all hear about healthy boundaries all the time. And everyone says, oh, you must have healthy boundaries. But one, what is a healthy boundary? And two, how do you implement healthy boundaries when you've trained everybody around you all your life of how they can treat you? So that's the other thing. When you're saying yes to yourself, you're saying, actually, this is how I want to be treated. I'm no longer going to be treated that way. And there's two elements of that. One is, if you want to be treated in a certain way with love, respect, you also, with communication and all the things we want in a relationship, not just our loved relationships, but in any relationship, then you have to behave in the way that you want to be treated. That's not anything new, but to be aware of that, to be aware of how you're treating your partner, or how are you treating somebody at work. And if you want to see change, you have to be change. So you have to start looking at your behavior. How am I behaving? Am I respecting myself? So when I was younger, I had very little self-esteem for different reasons. And so I behaved in a certain way. I disrespected myself. And because I disrespected myself, I attracted other people that disrespected me. Having a string of boyfriends that were, I'm not going to say douchebags, that's not fair on them. But they were. But yeah, I was looking for love in all the wrong places, basically, because the way I was behaving, that's the sort of person I attract. So when you start saying yes to yourself, you're respecting yourself. You're changing your behavior, so you start attracting more like-minded people and the sorts of relationships that you want in your life. So if you're having relationships, as a pattern where you feel that they are lacking in integrity, that they lie to you, or they can't communicate their feelings to you, or they don't appreciate you, or they don't understand you, you must start being more of that. You must start looking for ways to appreciate them first, looking for ways to communicate better, looking for ways to be more compassionate, more understanding, and more affectionate or loving, depending on the relationship. So that's a yes to yourself as well, the way you treat yourself. And then you'll see that mirrored in other people, the way they react to you. Healthy boundaries. So when having healthy boundaries is when you say yes to something, for example, and it feels heavy in your body. that's your body telling you that's a no for you. That's a no to that person and a yes to yourself.
Yeah.
So when you say yes to something and you feel obligated or you feel guilt, that is your body saying that's a no to them and a yes for yourself.
And maybe
yeah,
I can bring that alive in just a kind of a domestic setting, just to show how it doesn't have to be like a grand gesture, but for example, with Ty, my son, he's 12, we keep trying to help him grow to do his own packed lunch, and yet again he's not done his packed lunch, and I'm kind of running around the kitchen chasing him out the door and doing his packed lunch for him. And as I'm gathering the elements from the fridge, as I'm putting them in the box, I'm a bit frustrated with him, but I'm more frustrated with me. It's like, I'm not creating my calm space. I'm running around and I'm creating a pattern where it's okay for him each morning to ask exactly the same thing. So sometimes the boundary element can be on such a small, domestic, perhaps trivial thing, but there's just messages coming through all of the time.
And you're not helping the other person. Like you say, you're not helping the other person grow. And so many people are running around after people, whether it's their partner or their children or their siblings or their parents, or at work, in the workplace. We had a great conversation about relationships when someone is a people pleaser and wants to continually help. It starts to wear on you and people start to take advantage without realizing it. So yeah, and you're stopping that person from growing. You're continuing to enable them to be that way, so they aren't growing, and then that causes resentment in partnerships, because you, as a more feminine energy, as a female, mostly you feel like you're the one that's taking up all the slack. So having these, as you say, is as simple as, right, okay, this is what it's going to be. And I will talk about how to do that in a moment, but right, I need help. So first of all, saying yes to yourself, I need help. What can I delegate? Who can do what? What really needs to be done? Because there's so much stuff that doesn't actually need to be done, that we feel we need to do. Vacuum. I think I might have mentioned this before. I have a friend that used to vacuum 3 times a day.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh because this wow.
Yeah. People that iron boxer shorts. And I know this is sort of domestic stuff, but there's lots of things that go on in the workplace. And it's that sort of thing, having healthy boundaries for yourself on some of the stuff that you do every day. Does it really need to be done? Is my well-being more important than ironing boxer shorts, for example? If you enjoy it and you're playing it, great. But most of the time, not.
And taking a call, being at a social dinner, taking a call from someone who you know is going to bring drama. It's like the phone's there for your benefit. You can say, yes, I'm going to enjoy being here.
Yes.
That means, I don't have to answer this call right now. Or
that text.
Oh
yeah. Because how many of us feel someone's texted us? I have a few friends that might not have texted me for a couple of hours, and oh my god, I'm so sorry I didn't respond. It's like, it's fine, and I don't respond. I make it, I don't apologize for it either. You don't have to justify yourself for not responding to a text immediately.
Yeah.
And that's, they're all boundaries. They're simple boundaries. And these things have happened because you've allowed, that's just sort of snuck into your life, and that's the way you've trained people to treat you. You've trained people that I will respond in 10 minutes or half an hour.
Yeah.
So when you take a step back and go, okay, I want to be present. I want to engage. If you're at dinner, I want to engage with the people that I'm with. So my phone goes away. It just, how many people here in Italy, it's unbelievable. You've got a family all there for a family celebration, and nearly every single one of them is on their phone.
Yeah. And then ironically, we work like crazy to go on holiday to spend time with the people that we love. Or we look through and go, financial freedom means I can spend more time with my family rather than rushing around. So it's like, well, actually you do get a chance to. You are abundant. You have your family around you.
Yeah. And then especially in North America, people will, and my brother's the same, he'll go on holiday, he runs his own business, but he'll take his laptop with him and he'll respond to emails. It's like, but I have to. Why do you have to? Again, you've trained people that way, and it is linked to your self-worth, and it's very much linked to your value. So when you can dive deep and you can feel abundant in self-love and self-worth, all of that stress that all causes goes away. So how do you become aware of where your boundaries are is your first step. What's depleting me? What do I feel obligated to do? What's frustrating me? What's stopping me from being present and engaged? And then you think of, okay, so how can I put this across to people without being rude, without thinking that, without upsetting everybody? And one of the things I tell my clients or talk to my clients is we go into specific situations, whether it's parents or siblings or partner, and you actually say, I know this is the way I've been in the past, but it needs to change. And it needs to change because I need to start taking care of my personal well-being. Because if I don't start taking more care of myself and looking at and giving myself space and doing things that I enjoy, I'm just going to lose it. I'm going to lose my mind. And it creates mental health. It creates mental health issues, serious mental health issues, and it creates illness and disease. 97% of most illnesses come from stress. So realizing the second step is actually realizing how important it is to have healthy boundaries and to do it not just for everybody else, to help be more of a contribution to everybody else and to be in that space of more relaxed and calm and balanced, because of course that has an impact on everybody around you. That has a positive impact on everybody around you, but more importantly for yourself, for your personal well-being. So the way you express that is I need to start changing things for my personal well-being so that I can feel happier and more relaxed and calm, and so that I've got more energy to spend with my loved ones, that I can be more effective, more productive, whether that's in the workplace or at home.
Yeah. And again, kind of around boundaries in the workplace, there are so many articles that talk about the amount of office housework that women get involved in, especially. So whether it's organising a tea round, organising a birthday card, organising this, or tidying up, or just all of these elements that we don't say no to. But actually, it kind of keeps us in a box and stops us being involved in and having the energy and the time to be involved in other projects that are much more aligned with who we are and what we do. I believe it's an element as to why women aren't given as many opportunities to progress, because sometimes we get caught in a role. We just don't have enough time to say, no, I'm more important. My projects that I'm working with are more important than setting up that room or answering this issue. So there's often a kind of much more direct relationship between boundaries and abundance than we realize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's having the courage to start that first conversation, because it takes courage. It's very much out of your comfort zone, because you're so used to saying yes to other people, and as you say, it's not something we're used to saying yes to ourselves. But if we don't, we can't live a fulfilling, happy, joyful, loving, abundant life. You can't get there from where you are now in that people pleasing, doing everything for everybody else, giving, 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 and not open to receiving. And that comes down to feeling self-worth and feeling self-love.
Mm.
And that's deep. That, that takes, that I've had years. I've spent a lot of effort, time, and money in cultivating that within myself. It's not something that can be done overnight, and it's usually not something that can be done by yourself. And saying yes to yourself is saying, yes, actually, I'm worth spending that money on to go and get help, to have some coaching, to have some support, to have some encouragement, to be in that community of amazing women.
Yeah. And release from those toxic relationships, I guess, the relationships that drain you. And perhaps you can unpack ways that well, I think first off to unpack ways that those toxic relationships can be damaging to you, and then perhaps ways that people can move forward.
And again, it's an awareness of the effect that relationship has on you. And I know many people that are in toxic relationships, whether that's their partner or friends, and they stay with that friend because they feel obliged, or they've had that friendship for years and years and years. And it's a very difficult thing to break that. But again, it's saying yes to yourself and realizing the effect. So when we're in a toxic relationship, again, how does it make you feel is the first question to ask yourself. When I'm around this person, when I see the message or the phone call come up from that person, how does that make me feel? And if it makes you feel yuck or anxious or, oh my God, or, oh, can't deal with this right now, don't need their drama, that is a clear no to them. And that is your body. And your body does, it goes, oh, or, like, if it's extreme. So it's really important to listen to how your body's reacting, because your body tells you everything. And it's not good to be in a toxic relationship. And some people want to maybe try and fix that relationship. And yes, try, have a go. But if that person isn't willing to listen to what, isn't open to hearing what you have to say, then how long do you want to give that person your energy?
Yeah.
Where is your energy better spent? Is it on the people that actually love you and you get, there's an equal amount of giving and receiving? Is it around the people that make you laugh and make you feel good? Or are you just going to give your energy to this person constantly or consistently, where it's actually going to start affecting your other relationships and yourself? So that's number one, is realizing how it affects your yourself and relationship to others and your energy and time. So I would suggest that you actually write things down on that, because when it's written down, it actually helps you realize, you're like, oh, whoa, okay, yeah, I see it. And then how do you detach yourself from a toxic relationship? And it's really difficult if it's a family member, because a lot of the time a toxic relationship can be a family member. It's quite often a family member or somebody at work, and that's your domain, somebody at work, because you're with them, they're there at work every day. So with family and friends, again, it's that feeling of obligated to need to spend time with them. And it's just taking little steps back, as you said earlier, Claire. Don't respond to their message or their phone call immediately. Don't see them every day or every week or however often you see them. Just start gently detaching yourself. Before you do that, you can have a conversation with them, of course, to see if you can shift that toxicity. but most of the time it's beyond. It can be beyond that.
Yeah.
Family is different. That's a different conversation. But friendship, relationships, it's what can I do to sort of distance myself? And actually, a lot of the time, something will happen that will create an argument that will give you the opportunity to then walk away.
Yeah. And if I can bring through some more of the workplace, for example, sometimes it might not be as vivid as one relationship. Perhaps it's a team, for example, that get caught in gossip or criticism, or and I think kind of there are many people who are perhaps not strong in their own self-worth, but try to create that sense of self-worth and power in a team environment through kind of being the first one to champion the team, or being the first one to criticize somebody else. And again, when you criticize someone else, you're trying to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah. And I see so many groups become quite toxic because the negativity is just dragging down. And and as a leader, kind of manage, it's hard, and this is being super honest, it's hard to keep spotting the value of each individual member, because often you're kind of, oh, do you know what, I don't want to be near that group because just going to respond in this way, or change is going to be hard because of this toxicity. And it can be really difficult to shift unless it's addressed.
Yeah, and I think just on the back of that, in either in a workplace or in a relationship, whether that's family or friends, it's having a grown-up conversation when things are calm, not in the middle of an argument, if possible. But having a conversation, and sit down with that person and say, you know what, and not a blame thing, but this is how this is how I feel when you behave in that way, or this is how it makes me feel when you say that. Be very careful about saying, this is how you make me feel. We don't want to say, this is how you make me feel. We want to sort of look at, well, when you say that, or when you behave like that, or when you do that, this is how it makes me feel. And what do we want from this relationship? How do we want to be? What's our intention for our relationship? And can we change that? Are we
Lost you. So Jen, that's really helpful with those one-on-one relationships. So the dramatic friend or the needy son or some of those. But sometimes it can be a group environment, can't it? And that there's a toxicity around a group that just creeps in and can be quite corrosive, and sometimes can come from one individual's, but it can just be a little bit of a downward spiral. So it could be criticism of other people, or frustration, defensiveness, kind of resistance to change, and sometimes that group's there, or even in a family dynamic where you kind of drift through, perhaps get stuck in a loop of watching really bad TV every weekend and not doing anything, and it's just over time this toxicity comes in. So any recommendations to help people to shift, when perhaps in those situations where they can't necessarily remove other people from the dynamic.
Yes. Yeah, I think first thing is to actually have a conversation with somebody when you're feeling more neutral, when you're not in the middle of an argument, for example. So if somebody that's close to you, that, as you say, is in your life and you can't remove them from your life, is be honest, but be gentle, and try as much as possible to be compassionate as to, well, why are they behaving in that way, or is it my behavior that's creating that? So look at yourself. There's a great quote, say, seek to understand before being understood. So if it's something that's new or fresh, or they've always been that way, what's going on with you? What is it that you need? And then talk about how their behavior and their actions, or the things they say, affects you. This is how it makes me feel. This isn't how you make me feel, but this is how, when you say that or you do that, this is how it makes me feel. And what can we do about it? Do we want to create a more loving, understanding relationship? Most people will say yes to that. Or do we want to, do we want to create a more effective relationship if it's at work? An easier relationship? So have a gentle conversation with someone, and be gently honest, but come from a place of kindness and compassion.
Yeah. And what I like about, and what I truly appreciate around what you've described there, is this, it's the level of ownership that you bring as well, because it's very rarely all one side over another side in a relationship. There'll be, and to bring that judge energy into the room as well, it very rarely helps to move forward. So ownership of what's happening, kind of a desire to move forward, a shared desire to move forward, and perhaps describe what that future looks like, what it could look like.
Yes, I love that, describing what the future could look like, because that person might not be able to see it either. Well, what do you want from this relationship in the future? Where do you want this to go? How do you want to connect and continue to be? How do you want to be with each other? Yeah. It's a hard conversation to have. It's simple, but it's certainly not easy. And that's, again, you might need a bit of guidance around that, and some encouragement and support.
Definitely. So throughout this episode, we've been looking at relationships, and we've been looking at abundance, and we've been drawing on a lot of your expertise from your work directly with women, helping them to shift forward. What advice do you have around, or what tools and techniques do you have that people can use to start to shift the energy from that sense of lack? We've talked about how they can start to shift the dynamics perhaps within a relationship, but what can you hold on to yourself? What can you do yourself to spring forward?
I think focusing on what really matters, what's more important, what, so stop getting tied up in the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. One of the things I love to say, asking yourself, does this really matter? Does it really matter? Or what's more important, being right or being happy? So yeah, look at what matters. Focus on, as we said earlier in the episode, focus on things that are working. Start feeling a little bit of gratitude around it. And if it's too difficult to be feeling gratitude towards your partner or in a relationship, start to lift yourself and feel gratitude about that that we have air to breathe, and that we have a sun. We don't always see the sun, but we know it's always there. Focus on, find things that you feel really grateful for and feel that gratitude, because that will automatically lift you. And come from a place of kindness, I think, is, start to be kind to yourself. Treat yourself like you would a best friend. We're our own worst critics, and it's taking away that judgment and starting to look at things of how other people react with you, how your loved ones react with you, when you're not just your loved ones, but like your super fans. Focus on what are you bringing to other people and your contribution. And as I said before, look for the evidence that you are loved, that you are abundant, and shift your focus from hanging on to the negative things that people say, and focus on the positive things people say.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that you can do that's really powerful that I don't think we've mentioned, and you mentioned future a moment ago, how you want your future relationships to be, but how do you want your future to be in terms of abundance and love, and visualize that. Imagine what it could be like if you had more energy, if you had more abundance, and actually put yourself in that place as if it's happening now, and feel it and be grateful and appreciative of it, because that will help lift you. And I've got a really good activation that I use with my clients, where they go deep into that and they really feel in every single cell, they really feel the possibility of that, and that it's happening. So when you're in that space, you are drawing it towards you quicker. And of course it will lift you, because your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and your imagination. So your brain will still trigger those feelings and emotions of love and gratitude if you think about love and gratitude, if you think about something that brings you love and gratitude, if you imagine yourself doing something that you really, really love, if you imagine yourself in the future, your future self, and what that future self looks like, your brain will trigger those feelings and emotions of how you would feel in that moment. So that's a really, really powerful tool. And gratitude. Oh, there's a really wonderful game that you can play as a family, gratitude game, to help shift not just your energy, but the whole family's energy. And you have a gratitude jar. So whether it's every day, each one of you write something on a piece of paper of what you felt gratitude for that day within the family. So for example, Ty put a little note: thank you, Mum, for making my packed lunch today. I know I really appreciate it. And you have a little gratitude for Ty, or for your husband, or for Enzo, your lovely puppy dog. Or, so you look at, and you can do that with just in a partner, in a relationship. Um, and then at the end of each month, you have a family dinner, and you pull out some of the gratitude things that you say about each other, and you read them to each other, or you have one person reading them, and it just shifts and changes the energy within a family unit.
Yeah, for sure. It just is. And kind of when you say about gratitude, in the world of abundance, there are so many different thought leaders, there are so many different speakers, and there's one that I really like, and I'm going to struggle to remember his name now, but he talks about saying arigato to money. So to observing when money comes in or when money goes out, and saying, hey money, you're here, it's really good to see you, I'm so I'm excited to see you, I'm going to take care of you. Or when the bills go out, it's like, oh, money, thank you so much for enabling me to do this, or to do this, or to do this, or to do this. It's like a notice the fact that it's going on, as opposed to an energy which is like, oh, there's the money gone again. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I get to spend this money on my shopping, on my groceries. I get to spend that money.
Yes, and that reminds me, thank you, Claire. That really reminds me, it's treating money like you would your best friend. So whether it's in your pocket or not, you're just so pleased every time you have an exchange with money, no matter what that looks like. Yeah, and also looking at debt, and instead of looking at debt, look at it as an investment. Look at it, the fact, you might have gone into debt because you went on holiday, or you might have gone into a debt because you had an exceptionally high energy bill this month, or you might have gone into debt because you bought so many Christmas presents, and the festive season was quite expensive. Or so instead of looking at debt as debt, look at it as an experience. That money allowed me to have this experience, or that money allowed me to invest in something that brought me joy, or that money allowed me to have heat.
Well, and kind of so one of the other exercises that you go through is, I bet you've got some as well, because I've definitely have, is the nice cutlery. The nice, beautiful cutlery that you bought, that's tucked away for special dinner parties, that never gets used. It's just like, get it out.
Yes.
Use it. Feel it. It's like, I am having a celebration today. It's like I have this beautiful piece, because when it's tucked away in the cupboard, you don't realize. And then the other one, okay. So this is a combination of some of the threads that you've brought to us around saying yes, around self-love, and also gratitude. But a few years ago, I took part in a lingerie subscription. And so, when you get like bored of your pants, it was like, oh God, I don't think I'd find me attractive in these. But every month they would send you through a posh pair of knickers, and it was like £12-15 a pair of knickers. So I wouldn't and somebody else had chosen them as well. So it was like these bits, like, oh, okay. But actually it just shifted so much in me. It was just the excitement, and then getting to wear the knickers. We'll have to be careful with this one. But again, it's just like it's a nice feel. It's a nice, I deserve this. And many of us women kind of will have in our rotation of clothing per se, we'll have some really nice items that are tucked away that just never get worn. Like, pull them out, wear them, feel them, because you have all these assets.
Yes, absolutely. Like the crockery set as well. Get the dishes that you've ever saved for best that you never use, or you use them twice a year. There's another. So one of the tools that I use is free yourself from money worry. And it doesn't matter what scale you are on. I was at a place several years ago, quite a few, and when I moved back from Canada, I actually had to go to my dad to raid his food cupboards, which is a very humbling experience. And I was in a spin about money, and I used this exercise, and it was so powerful, and it helped me shift the worry and start to become in a more abundant place. So even though I didn't have much money coming in at that time, I wasn't worried about money because this exercise, and the exercise just drills down to realizing, actually, I have a roof over my head. I have people that can help me and support me. I have the skills, I have experience, I have knowledge, I have possibility to earn money. And things just started happening for me. I met somebody that offered me a job. I found money on the street. My mum gave me money and I didn't even ask for it. There was all sorts of things that just started happening because I started focusing on what I was abundant in. So I think that's the biggest takeaway. Focus on where you have abundance already. And knowing in most of the societies that we live in, we are not, it's very, very, we are not likely to end up on the street homeless. There's always a solution. There's always somebody that can help you in dire, that's going really dire situation. And very, very few of us get to that dire situation.
Yeah, but you say that very few of us get to that dire situation. I think if you're in the grip of anxiety, you think you're a lot closer to that situation than you truly are. So it feels like you're only one step away from it, whereas because it's so loud, whereas kind of actually if you're able to step back to kind of look at what you've got and also how many steps you are away from that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we're in the grip of that, we're like, oh my God, I'm going to lose the house. I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to be on the street. That anxiety does take you into that downward spiral. But but again, it's breathing and writing down and looking at actually where am I on that scale, and where do I get help and assistance? Who can support me? Is that really true? Is that really true?
Yeah.
And usually it's not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey. So Jen, this has been a really abundant conversation. I'm looking at the time and the conversation's gone way over our normal time.
Yeah.
But how can people explore this more with you? How can they, tap into some of the tools or examine what's going on in their own lives in more depth?
There's a few ways. In my links, there's a link to a free gift, which is just a very simple 10 top tips and tools to help you release stress and struggle and create more ease and flow. So if you sign up for that, you can also choose to be within my email list, where I will not bombard you with emails, but my emails are nurturing and supportive with lots of other top tools and tips, and also keeping you updated on what I'm offering. So that's one. The other thing that I'm really excited about, and because, this time of year, there's a lot of people that are, slightly feeling the pinch, as it were, but still want to elevate their life. They want to feel more fulfilled. They know there's something better, but I want to offer something I've never offered before. And I want to do very small, intimate group coaching. So 4 to 6 women, no more. And I'll ensure that the women are like-minded and have similar issues. And with that, you'll get 3 live group calls with myself a month and an individual call a month with myself. And that is only going to be £267 to really transform your life and bring you clarity and help you reach those desired outcomes that you want in your life, to feel fulfilled and to live in a place of freedom and flow, love and abundance. So there are limited spaces because I am only one person, and that price will change, not while you're in the program. So click on the link and you'll see details around more information on that. And one final thing, if you want to work with me individually, I highly recommend you arrange, book a meeting with me, book a discovery and coaching call, which is completely complimentary. And we can delve into what you are looking for, really give you some clarity about what you want to create in your life, some of the challenges that you're facing and those hidden challenges, and you'll experience some really powerful guidance and a couple of breakthroughs. It is not a sales call. It is a complimentary coaching session. And then it's your choice whether you want to work with me and in what format, or I can offer you some other steps on what direction you need to take. So
those are incredible, and I pick up around it, the power of that initial coaching conversation. And it's not just around testing or sampling what you can do. It's actually getting in touch with what I can do as a buyer, where else I could go in my life. What does it feel like to invest the energy and the time in where I go, and what can be unlocked there. So I think very often coaching services or learning and development are seen as a cost, when actually they're an investment. They're an investment in you and how you develop and how you grow.
Yes, and it's a massive yes to yourself. By just doing that will shift a lot of energy.
Yeah, indeed. So those are incredible links, and I encourage everybody to dive into them for sure, to get going. And if you've become an avid fan of the show of Exponential Potential, you might also be interested to know that we are looking at how we can get our tools out there more, how we can work with our group, how we can develop our community, our club. So we're exploring a club where you'll have access to so many of these tools. You'll have additional coaching, additional support, additional sessions that actually walk you through in detail. I mean, for example, the money exercise that you've been describing today, Jen, I think that would be a fantastic episode in its own right, just to be guided through that. And that's the kind of content that we're looking to launch. So keep an eye on this space, because it's on the way. And it's just going to be so exciting. It's going to be so exciting.
Really excited about our memberships club and what we'll be able to offer people.
Yeah, for sure. To help people to realize what they've already got. Just one of the choice, like, you've already got this, let me help you find it, come on. Just need to shake it up. Need to bring you the light. And if you've been listening today, we hope you've really enjoyed the conversation. And this month we are covering all things abundance. So make sure you tune in for some of those next episodes. We've got some absolutely stellar guests coming through. I'm joined by Stephen Ajay, who's talking about entrepreneurship and his recovery from bankruptcy into creating a really vibrant business, and where that goes next, as well as the work that he does across Africa, encouraging so many entrepreneurs to develop and grow their businesses. It's he's changed his own world and is truly changing the world around him. So that I am so looking forward to. And you've already talked about kind of recording you've got coming up as well.
Yes, with Angela, all around money, money blocks, money shame, using money as a tool. So that's going to be a really good episode as well. So look out for that one.
And stay tuned, and we'll see you again very soon. But for now, ta-ta.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear your comments and feedback. And if you've enjoyed it, please click on that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and feel free to share. Join us for our next episode of the Exponential Potential podcast. Ignite your potential and thrive in times of great change.